Let me ask you something I've never heard a financial advisor ask on TV. You've been putting money into your 401k for decades, and right now there's a number sitting on your latest statement. Maybe it's $180,000, maybe $300,000, maybe more. But here's the question nobody asks. How much of that number do you actually get to keep? Not before taxes, not before fees, not before the government's cut. How much of it really ends up in your pocket paying for your life? Most people I talk to have never done that math. And I get it, because nobody shows it to you. The system is set up to show you the big number, the gross number, the one that feels good. Today we're going to look behind that number. I'm going to show you 3 things that your 401k is, let's say, not being straight with you about. 3 things that, if you don't know them, could cost you tens of thousands of dollars in the years ahead. This isn't doom and gloom. I'm John Mitchell. This is The Real Years, and my whole mission is to make sure you walk away from every video with something you can actually use. So stick with me. I promise by the end you'll have 3 specific steps you can take this week. Let's get into it. Here's the first thing your 401k isn't telling you up front: the fees. Now, I know what you might be thinking. John, my plan has fees, I know that. And maybe you do. But let me ask you, do you know the specific dollar amount you paid in fees last year? Not a percentage. Dollars. According to a U.S. Government Accountability Office study, 41% of American workers don't even know their 401k charges fees at all. Not 4%, 41%. Here's the math that should wake you up. Research from Demos, a nonpartisan policy organization, found that over a working lifetime, fees can cost a median income 2-earner family close to $155,000 and consume nearly 1/3 of their total investment returns. Let me put that another way. 1 out of every $3 your investments earned, gone. Not to a market crash, not to bad picks, to fees. And the industry knows this is hard to see because they take it off the top before you ever see the return. It never shows up as a line item. You don't write a check. It just quietly disappears. Take $100,000. Compare a plan charging 1% annually versus a plan at 0.25%. After 20 years, that difference alone cost you around $30,000. That's a car. That's 2 years of groceries. That's real money. And here's the kicker. Most financial professionals say if your all-in fee is above 0.5% of assets, you're probably paying too much. There are 3 main types of fees in a 401k, and most people have only heard of one. First, the expense ratio. This is the annual cost of each mutual fund or ETF in your plan. It's expressed as a percentage, like 0.80% or 1.2%, and it's taken out of the fund automatically. This is the big one. This is where most of your money leaks. Second, administrative fees. These cover record keeping, legal, accounting for the plan itself. Sometimes your employer pays them. Sometimes they come out of your account. You need to find out which. Third, the 12B1 fee. This is a marketing fee that some funds charge, technically to promote the fund. In plain English, you're paying for their advertising. This one infuriates me the most. Here's the action step. Log into your 401k account. Look for a document called the 401A5 Fee Disclosure, or Plan Fee Disclosure. It's legally required to be there. Then for each fund you hold, look up its expense ratio. If it's above 0.5%, you have a problem to fix. The good news? Many plans now offer low-cost index funds, S&P 500 index funds, with expense ratios of 0.03% or 0.05%. If yours has one, that's probably where your money should be sitting. You can't eliminate fees entirely, but knowing what you're paying is the difference between keeping your money and handing it to someone else. The second lie is the most expensive one, and it's technically not a lie, it's a half-truth. The pitch for a traditional 401k is this: you defer taxes now, and you pay them later in retirement when you're in a lower tax bracket. Here's what they don't tell you about later. At age 73, the IRS calls in the debt. They've been patient. They let your money grow for decades, but now they want what they're owed, and they call it the required minimum distribution, the RMD. Starting at age 73, that's the current age under the Secure 2.0 Act, you are legally required to withdraw a minimum amount from your traditional 401k and IRA every single year. The amount is calculated by dividing your December 31st balance by a life expectancy factor the IRS sets. If you have $500,000 at 73, you're required to take out roughly $18,900 in 2026. And that withdrawal? It gets added to your taxable income. All of it. Trap number 1, the double RMD. The IRS says you can delay your very first RMD. If you turn 73 in 2025, you can wait until April 1st, 2026 to take it. Sounds like a gift, right? Here's the trap. If you delay that first RMD to April 1st of 2026, you'll still owe your regular 2026 RMD by December 31st of the same year. 2 RMDs in one calendar year. Double the taxable income. That can push you into a higher tax bracket in a single stroke. I call this the double RMD trap, and I've seen it blindside people who thought they were being clever by delaying. Unless a tax advisor has run the specific numbers for your situation and said it makes sense, do not delay your first RMD. Trap number 2, the tax torpedo. Now here's the one that I think is the most underreported financial hazard for people in their 70s. I call it the tax torpedo. And this one involves your Social Security. Many of you receiving Social Security benefits assume your benefits are tax-free, or mostly tax-free. And they might be right now. But when your RMD kicks in, the math changes. The IRS uses a formula called provisional income to determine how much of your Social Security gets taxed. It's 50% of your Social Security benefit plus all your other income, including your RMD. The threshold for a married couple is $44,000. Once you cross it, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits become taxable. So a $20,000 RMD doesn't just mean $20,000 in new taxes. It can trigger a tax hit on your Social Security at the same time. One pulls the trigger on the other. That's the torpedo. Trap number 3, the IRMAA Medicare premium spike. And there's a third punch. If your income, including your RMD, pushes past certain thresholds, your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums go up. This is called IRMAA, Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. It's a surcharge most people never see coming. In 2026, a couple can face hundreds of dollars per month in extra Medicare premiums just because their income crossed a line. Here's the good news. You are not powerless. There are 3 moves worth knowing about. First, Roth conversions. If you're between 60 and 72, you may be in what planners call a golden window. Income is lower, tax brackets are more favorable. Converting some of your traditional 401k or IRA money into a Roth IRA means you pay taxes now at today's rate, so that money grows tax-free and won't be subject to RMDs later. The smaller your traditional account balance at 73, the smaller your forced RMDs. Second, tax bracket optimization. Starting at age 59 and a half, you can take penalty-free withdrawals from your traditional accounts, even if you don't need the money. The strategy is to pull out just enough each year to stay at the top of your current tax bracket and reinvest it in a Roth or a taxable brokerage account. You're prepaying taxes at a lower rate to avoid a bigger bill later. Third, qualified charitable distributions. If you're charitably inclined and over 70 and a half, you can donate up to $111,000 directly from your IRA to a qualified charity in 2026. That amount counts toward your RMD, and it never shows up in your taxable income. It's one of the most powerful tax moves available to retirees, and most people have no idea it exists. These aren't tricks. They're legitimate strategies that require planning, the kind of planning that's worth sitting down with a fee-only financial planner to work through. All right, lie number 3. Look at your 401k balance. Whatever that number is, let's say $280,000. I want you to understand that number the way a lawyer understands a contract, because it's not entirely what it seems. According to Northwestern Mutual's 2026 Planning and Progress Study, the average American thinks they need $1.46 million to retire comfortably. That number is up $200,000 just from last year, driven by persistent inflation, longer life expectancies, and uncertainty around Social Security. Now, what does the average baby boomer, the generation that has been saving the longest, actually have saved? According to Fidelity's fourth quarter 2025 analysis, baby boomers average about $270,800 in their 401k, and that's the average, which is pulled up by a small number of very large accounts. The median, what the typical person actually has, is much lower. So the gap between where most people are and where they need to be is not a rounding error. It's a canyon. And the balance on your screen doesn't account for the 3 things that will take a bite out of it between now and when you spend the last dollar. 3 reasons your balance isn't really your balance. First, deferred tax liability. Every dollar in a traditional 401k is pre-tax money. You have never paid income tax on it. When you withdraw, the IRS gets its share. Depending on your bracket, 22%, 24%, even 32% of that yours balance will go to federal taxes alone, before state income taxes in most states. Your real spendable balance is materially lower than what you see. Second, the fees we already talked about. If you're in high-cost funds, you're still paying them every year you're drawing down. The drag doesn't stop at retirement. Third, sequence of returns risk. This is the one that keeps retirement planners up at night. If the market takes a significant dip in the first few years of your retirement and you're withdrawing at the same time, the damage to your portfolio is dramatically worse than if that same dip happened mid-career. You don't have time to wait for recovery. This is why a $280,000 balance at 65 in a 100% stock portfolio carries real risk that same balance at 45 simply doesn't. I want to make sure we end this section on something actionable. If you're between 60 and 63 right now, the Secure 2.0 Act created something called the Super Catch-Up Contribution. In 2026, you can contribute up to $35,750 to your 401k. That's the standard limit of $24,500, plus a catch-up of $11,250, specifically for ages 60 through 63. This window is only 4 years wide, and it's one of the most generous savings opportunities in the U.S. tax code right now. If you have the cash flow to take advantage of it, it's worth a serious look. All right, we've covered the 3 things your 401k isn't being straight with you about. Hidden fees, the tax trap waiting at 73, and the gap between your balance and your real retirement income. Now here's what I want you to actually do. 3 steps. This week, not someday. Step 1. Find your fees. Today, log into your 401k account portal. Locate the fee disclosure document. It's legally required to be there. Write down the expense ratio of every fund you hold. If any of them is above 0.5%, find out whether your plan offers a lower cost alternative, like an S&P 500 index fund. If it does, consider reallocating. This one task, done once, can compound in your favor for the next 10 to 20 years. Step 2. Run your RMD impact estimate. Go to the AARP website or Fidelity's online tools and run a simple RMD calculator. Enter your current 401k and IRA balances and your age. See what your estimated RMD will be at 73. Then ask yourself, will that amount combined with Social Security and other income push you past the $44,000 provisional income threshold for a married couple? If it looks like it will, It's time to start thinking about Roth conversions. You don't have to do them alone, but you need to start the conversation. Step 3. Get a second opinion from a fee-only advisor, not a commission-based broker, not someone who sells products. A fee-only fiduciary financial advisor, someone legally required to act in your interest. The NAPFA website, that's napfa.org, has a free directory of fee-only advisors near you. Many offer an initial consultation at no charge. Bring your fee disclosure, your Social Security estimate, and whatever projections you've run on your RMDs. Let them run the numbers. 1 hour of their time could save you more than you think. Let me bring it home. Lie number 1. Those fees are tiny. They're not. Over a lifetime, they can cost a median family $155,000. Lie number 2. You'll only pay taxes later. The RMD tax torpedo can hit your Social Security, your Medicare premiums, and your tax bracket all at the same time. Lie number 3. That balance is yours. It is, but less of it than you think, once you account for deferred taxes, fees, and the timing risks of retirement withdrawals. None of this means your 401k is a bad deal. For most people, it's still one of the best tools we've got. But knowing the truth gives you the power to use it better. I want to hear from you. Have you ever checked your 401k fees? Did any of this surprise you? Drop it in the comments below. No wrong answers, and I read every single one. If this was useful, hit subscribe. Next week we're talking Social Security. Specifically, the one question you must answer before you decide when to claim. You might think you know the answer. You might not. I'm John Mitchell. This is The Real Years. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week.